Within the chest, a second mind quietly perceives. Each beat sends its wisdom upward, and the brain answers in light. Together, they move in one rhythm. Here, stillness opens a gate.
What if I told you your body already knows something your mind has not yet realized? What if the anxiety, the restlessness, the sudden exhaustion, the emotional waves, the strange sense that something is shifting are not random at all? Because right now, in this very moment, your biology may be reacting to forces far greater than your personal life. Not just stress, not just headlines, not just your schedule, but to a world entering extremes, to collective pressure, to invisible rhythms, to a convergence of natural cycles so rare that to many people it feels almost apocalyptic. And yet most people will misread the signs. They will call it burnout. They will call it confusion. They will call it weakness. Without ever realizing their body is not betraying them, it is revealing them. In this video, we are going to uncover a hidden law almost no one is taught, that mastery is not first the mastery of the world. It is the mastery of your inner climate. We will explore why the human body is not merely flesh, but a living instrument, a sacred receiver, constantly translating the chaos of the outer world into inner sensation. And more importantly, we will reveal how true power begins when you stop being ruled by every signal and start consciously choosing the state from which you live. Think, feel, and act. Because there is a reason some people collapse under pressure while others become luminous through it. There is a reason the same storm that breaks one person awakens another. And by the end of this video, you will understand the principle behind that difference. A principle hidden inside your nervous system, your breath, your chemistry, and your consciousness itself. This is not about escaping the chaos. This is about becoming so inwardly ordered that chaos can no longer command you. This is the path of inner mastery, the ability to remain sovereign in a world of extremes, to consciously choose your internal state, to stop living as a reaction and begin living as a force. Because the greatest battle of this age may not be happening out there. It may be happening within your biology. And the ones who learn to master that inner battlefield will not merely survive this era. They will become the ones who can guide others through it. So before we talk about manifestation, before we talk about awakening, before we talk about higher consciousness, we have to begin where the hidden war truly begins, inside the body. Why does this moment feel so intense? Why does it seem as though the world itself is vibrating with pressure? Climate unrest, social fracture, emotional volatility, spiritual fatigue, inner exhaustion, collective anxiety, all arriving at once as if history itself were tightening into a single breath. Because this is not just a chaotic era, it is a convergence. We are living through a rare and precious moment in which multiple cycles appear to be peaking at the same time. Natural cycles, solar cycles, civilizational cycles, psychological cycles. The outer world is heating. The collective nervous system is straining. Conflict is intensifying. Attention is fragmenting. And beneath it all, something deeper is happening. The environment around us is not merely changing our circumstances, it is shaping our internal state. Ancient people understood this in a language of myth, ritual, and reverence. They knew life moved in waves, not straight lines. That there were seasons not only in nature, but in consciousness. Seasons of expansion, seasons of collapse, seasons of testing, seasons of awakening. And perhaps what makes this hour so spiritually important is that many of those waves seem to be crashing together now. What most people never stop to consider is that the human being is not separate from the field of the earth. We do not live on a dead rock drifting through empty space. We live inside a living system of motion, rhythm, charge, and invisible influence. Your heart is electrical. Your brain is electrical. Your nervous system is electrochemical. And there is a growing body of research exploring correlations between solar and geomagnetic activity and shifts in human physiology, including heart rate variability and stress regulation. In other words, when the field shifts, humanity may shift with it, not as helpless victims, but as sensitive instruments. And this is where the modern story becomes incomplete. Most people are taught to interpret their emotions only through a personal lens. My stress, my trauma, my overthinking, my schedule, my bad habits. And yes, those things matter. But what if the picture is larger? What if part of your struggle is also cyclical, environmental, and collective? What if your biology is responding not only to your private life, but to the tension of the age itself? The moment you understand that, you stop personalizing every wave as failure. You begin to observe, you begin to prepare, you begin to master. The secret is not merely that the world is in turmoil. The secret is that your body may be translating that turmoil in real time. And the person who understands that gains something rare in this age. Not control over the storm, but sovereignty within it. So now the deeper question emerges. What in you is doing the receiving? Because perhaps the greatest secret is this. The intelligence of your body does not begin in the skull alone. In 1991, researchers described the heart's intrinsic cardiac nervous system, sometimes called the heart's little brain, a network of about 40,000 neurons and neuron-like cells that can process signals locally and communicate continuously with the brain. That means your heart is not merely obeying orders from the head. It is participating in perception. It is shaping rhythm. It is sending signals upward. It is helping write the inner weather you call me. And once you understand that, a deeper possibility emerges. Maybe mastery is not only about changing your thoughts. Maybe it is about learning how to bring the heart, the breath, the nerves, and the mind back into one field of order. Now widen the lens. NASA has described Earth's magnetic field lines as behaving like vibrating strings when solar wind and plasma strike them, resonating like a cosmic instrument being played. Think about the scale of what that means. The planet is not silent. The space around Earth is not dead stillness. It is movement, pressure, resonance, response. The heavens strike the field vibrates. And inside that field lives the human nervous system. Not outside it, inside it. And here is where science begins to sound like myth. Some geomagnetic field line resonances occur in very low frequency ranges, including around 0.1 Hertz, and that matters because 0.1 Hertz is also a well-studied resonance range in heart rate variability and slow-breathing coherence research. That does not mean every mystical claim people make online is automatically proven, but it does mean the boundary between biology and environment is thinner than most people were taught. So the real spiritual question is no longer, why do I feel so unstable? It becomes, what have I tuned myself to? Because if the human being is rhythmic, and the earth is rhythmic, and the field around us is rhythmic, then disorder is not your only option. Coherence is also possible, and this is where the path changes. If the body is a receiver and the heart is not merely a pump but a gate, then mastery begins the moment you stop fighting your inner world and start learning how to bring it into harmony. Because the subconscious does not open through force. It opens through coherence. Not when the emotions are scattered. Not when the body is drowning in survival chemistry. It opens when the heart and the brain begin to speak the same language. This is the hidden art of inner mastery, to create a state in which thought and feeling are no longer in conflict, where the mind is not running in one direction while the heart is aching in another, where the nervous system is no longer trapped in alarm but begins to remember order. So begin here. Slow the breath. Bring your awareness out of the noise of the mind and into the center of the chest. Stop asking, how do I escape this feeling? And begin asking, how do I witness it without becoming it? Stay there. Breathe a little slower. Let the exhale lengthen. Let the body know it is allowed to soften. And in that moment, something ancient begins to return. The heart softens. The breath deepens. The brain no longer rules as a tyrant. It begins to harmonize with a deeper intelligence. This is the doorway. This is how you begin opening access to the subconscious, not by attacking yourself, but by bringing the inner kingdom back into resonance. And now we arrive at loss. This is where many people fail the initiation. When loss comes, they resist it. They deny it. They numb it. They bury it under distraction, performance, noise, and motion. But what is buried does not disappear. It becomes chemistry. It becomes tension in the body. It becomes emotional residue sealed inside the nervous system. So the wisdom code for loss is not suppression. It is acknowledgement. To say, yes, this hurt me. Yes, something ended. Yes, something was taken. Yes, I feel the ache of its absence. Because when you acknowledge loss with presence instead of panic, you stop feeding the cycle of inner resistance. You allow the trapped chemistry to begin to move. You allow the body to complete what the mind has been postponing. And in that honesty, grief stops being a prison and becomes a passage. Not because pain vanishes instantly, but because truth dissolves what repression hardens. And fear is even more subtle. Fear floods the body with urgency. It narrows your vision. It makes the temporary feel eternal. It makes the passing shadow feel like ultimate reality. But fear gains its throne when you mistake the chemical rush for the whole truth of who you are. So the wisdom code for fear is remembrance. To remember that you are more than this wave of chemicals, more than this tightening in the chest, more than this trembling signal in the nervous system. The body may be sounding an alarm, but the soul is not in danger in the way the frightened mind believes. And when you remember that, when you recognize that beneath the storm of sensation, there is something in you that is ancient, witnessing, unbroken, and deeper than fear itself, then fear begins to lose its authority. Not because the sensation disappears at once, but because you no longer worship it as final truth. You observe it. You breathe through it. You let it pass across the sky of awareness without building your identity inside of it. And that is the turning point. Because true mastery is not emotional numbness. It is not pretending not to care. It is not hiding fear beneath spiritual language or sweeping pain under the carpet of false positivity. Real mastery is the courage to see clearly, to feel honestly, to acknowledge what is present without surrendering your sovereignty to it. Because the person who can face fear without becoming fear, the person who can face loss without becoming emptiness, the person who can stay open in a world that trains people to shut down, that person touches the highest form of power, fearless love, a love that is not naive, a love that has looked at suffering and remained open, a love that has walked through uncertainty and chosen presence, a love that does not arise from comfort but from coherence. And perhaps that is the final secret. The goal was never merely to control your biology. It was to refine it until your body no longer becomes a prison for fear, but a temple through which higher consciousness can move. So remember this, you are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not broken because the world has become intense. And you are not losing yourself because your biology is responding to a larger story. You are being invited into mastery. Your body is not your enemy. Your emotions are not your punishment. Your fear is not proof that you are failing. They are signals. They are thresholds. They are the language of an inner world asking to be brought back into order. And the one who learns to create coherence within while chaos moves without becomes something rare in this age. A calm mind, a steady heart, a sovereign spirit. Not because life stopped testing them, but because they stopped abandoning themselves in the middle of the test. So if this message found you at the right moment, take a breath right now. Place your hand over your heart. And remember, you were never meant to be ruled by the storm. You were meant to become the presence that can walk through it. If this spoke to something ancient in you, comment below, I choose inner mastery. And if you are ready to keep awakening the hidden laws of consciousness, biology, and spirit, subscribe and join this journey if you haven't already. Because this is more than information. This is remembrance. And in the next video, we go even deeper into the invisible forces shaping human consciousness, and how to reclaim your signal before the world programs your soul. Until then, protect your peace, master your inner field, and remember, the real awakening begins within. Until next time, Universal Consciousness signing out.